What's going on, everybody? Let's give everybody a few minutes to come in. I'm going to pull up my Twitter screen. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe wherever you are. Let's cross-pollinate. If you're watching on YouTube, go over to Facebook and follow me there and like me there. If you're watching on Twitch, go over to, stay on Twitch. I want everybody to eventually go over to Twitch and follow me on Twitch, so we can do it over there. This morning we did a whole hour and a half stream on Twitch covering everything. I do a lot of exclusive stuff on Twitch, exclusive for Twitch members, and of course my patrons. My patrons get access to everything. So let's give quite a few people. Oh, there we are. Again, watching me, watch my Twitter timeline. Hello to everybody on Twitter. Be sure to go over to Twitch and YouTube and all the other places. I want to bring a couple things up on your screen. I want to get your comments. As always, I can give you, bring you on my screen and get your comments on the screen. Nathan, I appreciate you watching this with me. Let me know. Give me a thumbs up if you can hear me nice and clearly, if it's good. And one of the reasons I do this, in addition to the podcast and the videos, really is therapy for me. If I didn't do this, I probably would be arrested by now. I might get arrested anyway because Donald Trump, if he gets reelected, definitely is going to start cracking down. But the reason I do this is because my backyard, I found myself during this quarantine, my backyard is my vacation spot. I go out here and I'm out here for hours. I'm reading a book or I'm reading the newspaper or I'm preparing for the next day's show. And it's so much peace for me, besides the sound of the airplanes flying over. But it's so much peace for me. And I figured that I'll share that with you and we'll talk politics or we'll talk about life or whatever the case may be. So glad to have you all hanging out. Thumbs up, everything is good. Awesome. What is this? Something by proxy. And good not to internalize. Yes, this is good. It's good not to internalize this stuff. Let it out. We're here feeling the same thing. And you know, that's what I realized. Like, so many people have been thanking me. Like, thank you for doing this stream in this format. And I had to realize, like, you all are just as isolated as I am. I haven't, like, had a face-to-face interaction with a friend in 7 months. And so I think it's important for us to share what we can. And that makes these interactions on social media that much more important. You know what I mean? Like, these friendships, these interactions, they're meaningful, they're real, they're authentic. And I love doing them. So it was like, thank you for joining me. We have 366 people. Let's share, like, subscribe, all that stuff. Let's see. Try 3 said, yeah, I've been in the patio a lot, but I don't backyard, but it's good to be outside. Listen, I just got a backyard and you can see my trampoline takes up like 80% of the backyard. I used to go and hang out on my patio. I used to grill on my patio that was the size, you know how small an apartment patio is, so I don't even have to tell you guys. And one day I tried to do some char grilled oysters. I took the oysters, I had that flame popping, and it just got so big. I was living on the edge out there, barbecuing during the Super Bowl on a patio on the 3rd floor of an apartment complex in the winter. But I got that fire hot and I smoked them things. So, all right, let's get to some of these stories out here. Keep your children away from. Okay, yeah. I'm almost at the point where I could jump on the trampoline. I'm at 202 in my weight line. A year and a half ago, I was 267. I'm 202. You got to be under 200. So technically, I'm sure I can get on there, but I'm not going to risk it. But I probably will before it gets too cold. I'll jump on it with my kids. All right, I'm going to bring up a couple stories. Tell me, what are you watching? What are you reading in the news? my wife might come out and join me. There's a story in the news that came out about how the pandemic has been harder on women and young women, like women and daughters, how they have taken the brunt of the workload. And so my wife is going to come out and we're going to have a transparent moment to see if that's the same in my house. I like to think that I do a lot. I got a feeling I don't do as much as I think I do. It's probably the case. But whenever I feel like I'm not doing enough, I always fix my wife's favorite dinner, and that usually buys me some extra tokens. Uh, Turn up the volume. I'm hoping the volume is okay. Let me know if you did it go down. Well, I wonder why it went down. Hold on, let's see. It shouldn't have gone down. Surfs TV is in the house. Thank you guys for hanging out with me for a few minutes. 1, 2, 3, 4. I mean, I guess I'll just pull the microphone like right here. How about that? I don't want anybody to not hear me. Can you hear me better now? Is it better now? Okay. I mean, if I got to, I'll go get the big boy. I'll go get the, studio microphone and make sure that you guys can hear me. I'm just trying to do it low key without having to do a whole lot of extra stuff. Okay, let's do. The first thing I want to do is bring up a graphic. We'll talk about the marriage stuff and the COVID-19 stuff. I mean, every 2 minutes there's a goddamn plane that flies over. But I want to show you guys what we're dealing with here. And the first thing I want to do is play a clip from Donald Trump. Because here's the deal, folks. Here's the deal, Jack. We've got so many people.
Now we know it.
So trigger warning, I'm getting ready to play Donald Trump. The people on Twitch have already seen this video already. I'm going to play it again for the wider audience, and I'm going to play it so that I can juxtapose it to the data that CNN put together. And it shows you in a very stark contrast what we're dealing with in terms of how many lives we lost. And I think I'll show you what we're dealing with in terms of lives we lost. I'll show you that first. And nope, I'm going to play the video first. Take a look at Donald Trump and how he dismisses the number of lives that we lost. And then we'll discuss it because it is appalling.
Oh, the disease, we didn't know it. Now we know it. It affects elderly people with heart problems and other problems. If they have other problems, that's what it really affects. That's it. In some states, thousands of people, nobody young, below the age of 18, like nobody. They have a strong immune system. Who knows? You take your hat off to the young because they have a hell of an immune system. But it affects virtually nobody. It's an amazing thing. By the way, open your schools. Everybody open your schools.
It affects virtually nobody, bro. It affects virtually nobody. Virtually nobody. 200,000 people are dead. And he says that it affects virtually nobody. Now, I didn't share this earlier, but my producer sent it to me. This is a tweet from CNN that shows you how many people have been affected by this. And this is not just affected. These are people who have died. COVID-19 has already killed more people in the U.S. than Americans killed in battle during the first 5 most recent wars combined. The Korean War, the Vietnam War, the Iraq War, the war in Afghanistan, and the Persian Gulf War. And here's the graphic. I want to bring it up on your screen. 2 seconds because I'm doing this all by myself. Look at this. This is virtually nobody to Donald Trump. 200,000 deaths. It is more than Vietnam, Korea, Afghanistan, and the Persian Gulf all together. Combined. Just at a rough estimate, you could double it. You can double the number of people we lost in all those wars, and we've still lost more people just from COVID-19. I saw somebody say in the comment section that he skipped out on his chance to be a hero. I hope I could find that so I can credit the person who shared it. Do you realize how much of a sociopath you have to be to miss out on your opportunity because of your ego? You self-sabotage yourself in a moment, and you could have gone down in history as the president who saved the union from a pandemic. Donald Trump could have shut the country down for a full month and made sure every individual in this country had enough money to survive that month, enough food to survive that month. Let's say 2 months. Enough money to survive for 2 months, enough food to survive for 2 months. Everything is properly shut down. Businesses get a stimulus. Families get a stimulus. Everybody starts to consume online. The billionaires would have got even richer still. And because if he had done that, Donald Trump, there's no way he would have lost re-election. But instead of doing that, like the person said in the comment section, he skipped out on his opportunity to be a hero because it was more important to him to satisfy his immediate ego. I've known people like this in life where it's like you have this opportunity in front of you where you can do both the moral thing, the just thing, but also the politically expedient thing. Like, dude, you could have gone down in history as the savior of America. So it's very rare when life aligns the moral and the just thing with the thing that is going to make you a star. Like, they would have built monuments for Donald Trump if he had handled this virus correctly. But instead, his ego, his narcissism, his sociopathy got the best of him. And now he's trying to still get the monuments, but get a monument because 200,000 people died. Let's see what you guys have to say. Hey, Maha. We go way back to high school. He has made apathy an art form. And yes, Judith, Trump is a mass murderer. Let's see what everybody else. Let me catch up with the stream. I'm way behind. Trump doesn't care enough at all. But here's the thing, like again, like I already said, I don't think he cares. But how moronic. How can I put it? Most people dream of an opportunity to be a hero. Donald Trump had an opportunity to not only be a hero, but to be the hero. 150,000 more people have died that needed to die. Maybe even 170,000. But if all he had to do was do the right thing, and he could have saved the economy, as well as lives, as well as his presidency, as well as his reputation, as well as everything. But he's so damn ignorant and sociopathic that he could not see beyond his immediate self-aggrandizement. Yep, who said this? And instead, he's going to go down as a fascist. He would rather be known as a fascist than to have done the right thing. Now, I've known people, it's not just Donald Trump, it's not just conservatives. I've known people who call themselves progressive who had that same opportunity to go down in history as a person who does something magnanimous. But instead, their own personal ego and sociopathy got in the way. And it happens all the time. You ever wonder how people self-sabotage so much? It's because they can't see the forest for the trees. They can't see a golden opportunity to do the right thing, the moral thing, the just thing, but also the thing that's going to make you remembered. They can't see it because they have to satiate their immediate need for their ego. A couple more comments from you, and then I'm going to shift to a couple other stories. Let's get this one here. Trump has always been this way. Look at his reaction to the Central Park Five. He's always had fascistic tendencies. Absolutely, no doubt. Pam from Facebook said he does not care about American people. I feel sorry, but all America people, for all of us in the U.S., God sees everything what He does to the American people. Albert said, "What the hell, man? Your camera is so good." Yeah, I'm really big on production. So I like this. Marvin said we can do better than capitalism. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Here's if you want to see, and I'm going to go to another story in a second, but here's why we could do better than capitalism. It's because capitalists will destroy themselves. So long as they can get this quarterly profit margin. Let me start that sentence over again. Here's the truth. Jeff Bezos, Mark Zuckerberg, all these people who made it $500 billion since the pandemic started, and they've done so at the expense of their employees, at the expense of bailouts for the American people, at the expense of stimulus for the American people. They've done it at our expense. The truth is, if we had done this self-quarantining correctly and the government had done it correctly, they would have got their money anyway. This is what I mean. Remember the bailout of 2009? They bailed the banks out. And what they did was they gave banks money. They didn't give the American people any money, but the banks not only got the money from the government, but they also got the houses, the assets, all the homes that were foreclosed on. The banks got those too. So they got the houses as well as the money, the stimulus from the government. When, if they had done the proper thing, they could have gotten their money anyway from the American people. The government bails out the American people. What are the American people going to do with that money? They're obviously going to take care of their mortgage and their rent. They're going to take care of where they have to live first. Literally, probably every single person in this country, with very few exceptions, is going to take care of their living expenses first. So in 2009, when they bailed out the banks got the bailout as well as the houses, and they could have given the money to the American people, and the banks would have got their money anyway. But why settle for your mortgage when you can get the mortgage bailed out by the government and get the foreclosed property and then resell the property and get double the money? This is why I say we can do better than capitalism, because capitalism can't see the forest for the trees, right? The capitalism only sees the immediate ability to get this quarterly profit margin. What they don't see is that they're slowly but surely building up a tension in the American people that's going to explode eventually. Like, we've put up with 200,000 deaths. There is a breaking point. What they don't know yet is where that breaking point is. And when I say they, I mean the people who are running this country, the oligarchs, the billionaires. They think we're just going to keep taking it over and over again because we've been taking it. But clearly, everyone does understand there is a threshold where the American people are going to lash out. And that, my friends, will be detrimental to everybody's bottom line. But so long as they can play this game of chicken, that's what they're doing. They're playing a game of chicken. How much can we get away with before the American people actually snap on us and lash out against us? So far, so good. And so long as they can keep us from having a full-on revolution or revolt, and they can keep getting both the mortgage as well as the bailout, they're going to keep trying and they're going to keep doing it. But it is destructive to itself in the long run. When if they simply do the right thing, not only does the bank get the money that they're owed for their properties, but people are left in a better condition. What's particularly nefarious about capitalists and the billionaire class and banks is that getting their money is not enough. They don't want to get their money and just be happy because they made a profit. They're more satisfied with getting a profit at our expense than getting a profit based on our survival. They would rather get the mortgage and the bailout like they did in 2009 and have us homeless than to just get the mortgage that they're owed via their contract with us. How do I feel about Trump saying leave politics out of sports, then praise people like Colby Covington because he called athletes like LeBron James cowards? That's par for the course, right? I mean, we could actually go pretty deep with this one. I'll try to keep it superficial so I can move to this next story. But here's the deal. This is how they define, the same way they define patriotism kind of parallels what's going on here. Keep politics out of sports unless it's politics that I like. That's the way of conservatism. Um, don't protest unless you're protesting against something I don't like, right? So that's why the Tea Party protests of 2010, they got rowdy, they got ugly, they got rude, they were uncivil, but that was celebrated as the height of patriotism. But when we protest against police brutality in any form, don't even come to me and talk to me about riots, because when Colin Kaepernick took a knee, that wasn't good. That was they didn't want him to do that. When people silently protested, they don't want us to do that. When Kansas City and I forgot the other team locked arms in the first game of the season during a moment of silence, completely separate from the national anthem, they didn't want them to do that. So there's no type of protest that we can do that will be accepted because they don't want us to protest at all. Similarly, they want us to keep politics out of sports unless it's politics that they agree with. Similarly, the only type of American that they approve of is an American whose politics align with theirs. Let's keep the party going. Facts. Facts upon facts upon facts. All right, let me pull up this next story and we keep the. Oh, speaking of Friday night from 9 p.m. until 9 p.m. until is okay, I'm gonna bring up the graphic. We're having a patron party, patreon.com/the BPD show. And at that patron party, I have a DJ and we basically just party the whole night. We party until people are dancing. We have a good time. It's really fun. We've done 2 of them so far. And this is my way of celebrating and thanking the people who make this show possible, our patrons. I want to pull up while this airplane flies over. That's the only down thing about doing it outside is that these planes are hella close and hella loud. But go to patreon.com/the BPD show and you can get the full hour podcast. Oh, it didn't come up. It's supposed to be on the screen right now. Hang on, let's try this again. You get a full hour podcast, no interruptions, no commercials, no ads, none of that. And you also get access to the patron party that's going on this Friday night. And you also help support the show. There it is. Patrons party, Friday, 9 p.m. until patreon.com/the BPD show. And it's always fun. There's a particular couple, I forgot their names, because sometimes I forget my kids' names, so nothing personal. But they were outside. It was daylight where they were, whatever part of the world they were, and they were dancing to our music. They just sat there and danced the whole night. And so, in these times, that's dope. I really appreciate it, and we enjoyed it. So patreon.com/the BPD show. Again, I'm waiting for my wife to come out. We're going to talk about this story. Researchers found that the pandemic has been particularly hard on women and daughters, and they have been bearing the grunt of the workload, the extra work. And I like to think that that's not true about my house. So we'll see when she comes out if if I'm thinking correctly or not. And I guess it's a testament to why she's not out already, because she was putting Jeremiah down for a nap. The president never downplayed the critical health of Megan says. Okay, a couple more stories. What are you watching in the news? I know the Breonna Taylor. I covered this on the podcast today. The Breonna Taylor case. They're preparing a state of emergency. Breonna Taylor was the 26-year-old black woman who was shot while she was sleeping in a no-knock raid that raided the wrong house. And they shot and killed her. Now, she just got a settlement from the family, got a settlement of about $12 million from a wrongful death suit. from a wrongful death suit, which means that they acknowledged that it was a wrongful death, but the city didn't admit any culpability to an actual crime, or the officers didn't confess to anything in that settlement. That was a civil case. The grand jury has convened, and as far as I know, they have not made the announcement yet. I will check right now to be sure. But they were preparing for a state of emergency, which gives us the indication that they were going to not indict. Which unfortunately is what we're used to. I think they call it a grand jury, and in a way, it covers up the fact that these are people that are making the decision not to indict, and these are people who are watching the news, people who are political, people who have opinions and ideologies, and oftentimes those grand juries are full of people who, under no circumstances, would ever indict a police officer. And so we're still waiting. I don't see anything out yet to the entire state. It looks like it's going to come down any minute now, so I'm going to keep an eye on it. They're declaring a state of emergency already because I guess they assume that everyone is going to quote unquote riot. But again, I want to make sure that you understand, even if you march peacefully, they're going to call you a rioter. Even if you bow down in silence, they're going to call you a rioter. They're never going to approve of your protest. So I don't have time for this civility game. I'm not worried about what they approve of, because there's no protest of which they will ever approve. Period. Period. Let me get your comments on the screen. They are vampires. They need our blood and our life. I'm pretty sure you're talking about capitalists. Without even knowing the context, I know you're talking about capitalists. Greetings from Germany. You love my work. Thank you for tuning in. What time is it over there? I would say, what was it, about 7 o'clock there? 7, 8 o'clock? Thanks for hanging out with me. Here it is. When you make peaceful protests impossible, you make violent revolution inevitable. That's literally what I was getting ready to say a second ago, but I just kept it to myself. Thank you for saying what I was thinking. They always have a reason to put equality on hold. Never fails. Never, ever fails. Let's skip down to the bottom. Connie, that's the truth about protesting. The truth about protesting is there's nothing that we could ever do that would be acceptable to them. Nothing. 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 We can't bow. We can't sit. You can't even sit at a lunch counter. You damn near got lynched back in the day. The thing that what they want from us is to accept America as it is and not challenge it. They do not want us to challenge America the way it is. Because if we challenge America the way it is, then we are inherently challenging the power structure that I played yesterday with Bill O'Reilly and John McCain on the Fox News clip. That clip, I've been playing that clip on my show at least 3 or 4 times a year since I started. One of my very first videos, if you go all the way back to the very beginning, one of my very first videos was covering that clip. The clip of Bill O'Reilly saying that America's run by white Christian men. That is the power structure. And the reason that clip is so important is because of how casually he says it in front of then candidate for president, John McCain. And it didn't even make the news. It didn't even make the news. And the reason it didn't make the news is because everybody knows that the power structure in this country is one that is run by white Christian men. And so the reason none of our protests will ever be acceptable, because if our protest is against a system that is protecting white supremacy, male supremacy, and Christian supremacy, then our protest is inherently a threat against them. So even if we're protesting silently, the fact that we are protesting and what we're specifically protesting is a threat to the white male Christian power structure, is a threat to that male Christian white power structure. So unless what we do is safe for the white male Christian power structure, they will never approve of our protest. Appreciate you, Kim. They're not real Christians. And O'Reilly doesn't really know Christianity. I'm a Christian. Most of you, if you're on Facebook and you know me from if you know me in real life, you know I grew up in the church. My father was a pastor. I actually preached a little bit here and there. I stopped preaching because I cuss entirely too much. I'm working on that. I've gone a whole day. I've gone a whole day without cussing, so I'm doing better. But I stopped preaching because I cussed too much in the pulpit, and I was like, okay, it's time for me to retire. Um, but it is clear that the Christianity that is prevalent in America, they are the bad guys. The irony of it is, and I put this on Twitter last night. I guess it's really kind of sketchy for me to bring up my own tweet, isn't it? It's kind of like liking your own tweet, but to bring up my own tweet on my own show is a little bit. Oh well, I'm gonna do it because why not? Where is my? I got a fly on my nose, and that thing's gonna drive me crazy. I'm gonna pull up the tweet on your screen because I want us to talk about it since you brought it up, and I think it's relevant. I talk cash money shit stuff on my timeline, so but I tweeted this last night. Christians being the Antichrist in these end times was a hell of a plot twist. Christians being the Antichrist in the end times is a hell of a plot twist. Christians wearing the mark of the beast. They wear the Trump hat like the mark of the beast. The irony is that this vein of Christianity has been present throughout world history, particularly European history. Even we can go back further, older than that, all the way back to Constantine. In this name you shall conquer. There's Christianity that is used as a tool for power. That Christianity were the same Christians who would lynch black people on Saturday night and then go to church on Sunday morning. They would lynch us they would go to church on Sunday morning and then lynch us after service on Sunday afternoon. That is the same vein of Christianity throughout world history that has been used as a bludgeoning tool to amass political and economic power. So I shouldn't be surprised. It shouldn't be a plot twist that in these tumultuous times, the people who are the biggest threat to peace, to prosperity for all people, to progress at a minimum for all people, the people that the people that we had to fight against for our civil rights, the people who use the Bible as justification for slavery, the people who led and killed millions of people throughout the history of the world in the name of God, in the Crusades. Hell, we even did the Iraq War. Millions. See, I showed you the graph of how many Americans died in the Iraq War. I don't have a graph yet of how many Iraqis died in the Iraq War. Estimated between 500,000 to 1 million Iraqis died, and they carried out that war as if it was a holy crusade ordained by God. That vein of Christianity throughout world history is anathema to people like me who came up in the liberation gospel, where our faith was used to serve the poor, not take advantage of the poor, to save lives, not to kill in God's name, to tear down systems that are oppressive, not to justify systematic oppression. There is a significant difference, and you can see it now because these people don't worship. They would, don't you know they would crucify Jesus all over again if he came down here talking about the same thing about America that he's talked about the Roman Empire. They would be the same people yelling, crucify him. And so it is kind of ironic and a plot twist that Christians are the Antichrist in these end times. Not all Christians. But that sounds like me saying not all men. So and to that extent, I own that this is a part of the legacy of my faith, but I still call it out for what it is. It is used for oppression. When I read the Bible, I see it as a tool to tear down oppression. When I read the Bible, I see, anyway, let me go to the next story. What's going on, people? Look at this fool. Look at this moron. Thank God for Trump. You see what I'm saying? There ain't nothing about Trump that's blessed by God. Nothing. Nothing about Trump that is remotely Christian. Nothing about Trump that is anything like the Bible. It's funny because we have a group of people who always said, what would Jesus do? And then y'all morons go out there and do the exact opposite of what Jesus would do. Thank God for Trump. Thank God my ass. Forgive me, Jesus. Let's keep the party going. Not real Christians. The only reason I don't ever use this, I don't generally say they're not real Christians because that's a no true Scotsman fallacy. Like it really is kind of say, but they are real Christians. They're just bad Christians, and they're Christians who use Christianity as a tool of oppression. And they probably, if there is anything after this life, they'll probably be in heaven. But there's gonna be a whole lot more of us in heaven than they like. I don't know. I don't care about that part. Strike that last part. But this is what I do know. You could be a Christian and be a really evil person. Check out evangelicals. Moving along. Aaron said that it's the same for Catholicism in America. It was about social justice, but it has gone astray. Like, that's all. That's the only context. People keep asking me, like, why do you... Because I'm a skeptic. I'm a Christian skeptic. I'm a humanist. I believe in the potential, the capacity, and the greatness of humanity. I believe is an act of a leap of faith in the sense of Soren Kierkegaard. I can never pronounce his last name. It's a leap of faith. I don't try to argue with people about the existence of God. I don't even get into that because, as far as I'm concerned, I have no evidence. That's why I need faith. And that's why I need the leap of faith. All of that to say this, I want to bring back up that comment again so I can give the proper context. All of that to say this, when I talk to my friends who are atheists or agnostic or whatever the case may be, they always ask me, why am I still a Christian? And it's because the context of, I grew up around good Christians, period. I grew up around people who fed the poor. I grew up around people who not only fed the poor, but looked at the systemic nature of poverty and said, hey, we can do something different and get rid of poverty, right? We can do something different and get rid of oppression. And that's the kind of thing, that's what I grew up around. So my entire context for justice and liberation and progress is rooted in how I grew up in religion. So as I grew up in this religion, and then I started looking across the street at people who also called across the tracks, right? On my side of the tracks, on MLK side of the tracks, we fought for justice. You go across the tracks and you go to the First Baptist down the road, they used the Bible to justify whatever America was doing. And I was like, well, wait a minute. Like, it's almost like we got two entirely different religions. But again, you could trace that vein of thought all the way back to Constantine and how it, before Constantine, Christians were persecuted because it was seen as a subversive faith. It was a faith that subverted power, the Roman Empire. Everything that they were saying was a threat to the Roman Empire. And so they were persecuted, killed. But then when Constantine got a hold of it, it became a tool of the state. And it became complicit with power. And it became complicit with economic power, not just political power, but also economic power. And once they saw how effective it was in that role, that's when you got rid of the social justice liberation gospel, and you got, well, really, quite frankly, the prosperity gospel and the gospel of America. And now that gospel of America has become the gospel of Trump. And that's why you have people who say, thank God for Trump, when Trump is nothing remotely like what Jesus would do. All right, that's enough religion for today. Let's go to the next topic. Oh, you keep hearing this clip play. Let me scroll back up to you. Let's talk about Ruth Bader Ginsburg's seat and how everyone thought, including me, I ain't gonna lie, I actually believed Mitt Romney for a hot second when he said that he was that he was going to not vote to put fill a nomination before the election. He's changed his mind already. So
That
let
in your
me
release.
let me cue up this media, and I want you to listen to Mitt Romney.
The side of the Constitution and precedent as I've studied it, and make the decision on that basis.
Senator Patron, you said that in your release that you would look at nominees' qualifications. What qualifications are you looking for, and what would make you not consider someone that President Trump is putting forward?
Well, I think it's straightforward in terms of the qualifications you look for, which is someone who is an expert of the law, someone who has a record of fairness and judgment that you think is consistent with the law. I prefer choosing those folks who are, if you will, strict constructionists, meaning that they look at the law itself and the Constitution, as opposed to sort of looking into the sky and pulling out ideas that they think may be more appropriate than either the law or the Constitution. So I recognize that we may have a court which has more of a conservative bent than it's had over the last few decades. But my liberal friends have, over many decades, gotten very used to the idea of having a liberal court. And that's not written in the stars. And I know that a lot of people are saying, gosh, we don't want that change. I understand the energy associated with that perspective. But it's also appropriate for a nation which is, if you will, center-right, to have a court which reflects center-right points of view, which, again, are not changing the law from what it states, but instead following the law and following the Constitution.
Senator Romney, you know.
Well, they got it. There you have it. Mitt Romney. The person I believe less than Mitt Romney, because actually it was like, okay, well, maybe Mitt Romney is going to try to have some integrity here. I don't know why I thought that, but I thought that. But Susan Collins, I didn't believe Susan Collins for a hot second. You know, you're only going to fool me so many times. You know, Lucy and Charlie Brown say, oh, I'm going to do the right thing. And then lo and behold, she does exactly what we knew she was going to do the entire time, which was to pull the football away. This idea that America, I want to talk about specifically how he said America is a center-right nation. America's not a center-right nation. The voting electorate is barely a center-right voting electorate. The reason I know that is because in the last 7 elections, only one time has a Republican won the majority vote in this country. Now, yes, it is an electoral college election, and that's how they won. That's how they won all the other times. But if you want to talk about the population of the United States of America, it is not a center-right nation, as evidenced by the fact that every time we have an election, the last 7 elections, 6 of those elections voted, the majority voted for a Democrat. So this idea that they try to forward, they try to state it as a statement of fact, as to convince people and say, oh, well, maybe America really is a conservative nation. No, America's not a conservative nation. The people with the most money are conservative, therefore they can spend as much money as they need to create that consensus. But America's not a center-right nation. America's far more radical than anyone would ever want to admit that's in Washington, D.C. right now. The majority of Americans want Medicare for all. They want a single payer style system. I mean, this is literally the data. The majority of Americans want Medicare for all, which they call socialist medicine. Well, okay, if you want to call it socialized medicine, the majority of Americans want socialized medicine. The majority of Americans are not center-right. They are far more progressive than the billionaires who fund all of these millionaire politicians, who fund all of these millionaire media moguls and television stations. They pay millions of dollars every single day, billions of dollars every single year to make you think that the majority of America is conservative, which, if you pay attention to social media, you will think that it is overwhelmingly conservative. That's because you literally have troll farms that are paying people to spread conservative ideology and propaganda online all day, every day. They use their money to create the illusion that America is conservative, but America is not conservative. Oh, I like this one. Because Medicare for all system is not is centrist, not left. Thank you. They don't realize Bernie Sanders is not even leftist. He's really internationally a centrist. Can I tell you why? I said it on the stream yesterday, so if you heard it already, I apologize. You got to hear it again. The United Kingdom has had a single payer style system where nobody pays out of their pocket, everyone pays through taxes, but when you get sick, you never have to come up with enough money to go to the emergency room or to get a surgery. It's covered. They have had it that way for 71 years, since 1949. 71 years, 1949, when the United Kingdom got a single payer system. You know what song was #1 on the charts? Brand new hit, Rudolph the Damn Red-Nosed Reindeer. That's how long the United Kingdom, our friends across the pond, have had a socialized healthcare system. Socialized healthcare system. Since Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer was a pop song topping the charts. We have gone so far to the right in this country that what is authoritarian, damn near fascism to the rest of the world is our standard Republican Party. What is centrist to the rest of the world, and I'll give you another piece of evidence as to how you can see this. What is centrist and moderate to the rest of the world, in the United States, they call it the Socialist Democratic Party. They call Joe Biden a socialist. They call Barack Obama a socialist every day. Barack Obama is so centrist, he's almost right-wing when you compare him on the international stage. So much so, I'm not just talking, I know my shit. See, this is why I couldn't be a pastor. One of Barack Obama's senior, if not his campaign manager, it was one of his top advisors. I can see the man's face, but I can't think of his name right now. Somebody will say it in the comment section. When he left and became a consultant for the Conservative Party in the UK, not the Labour Party, not the left-leaning Socialist Party, Obama's top advisor / campaign manager, Jim Messina, maybe. He had a couple. I don't want to say the wrong name, but I can Google it in a second. He didn't go to the UK to advise the left-leaning party. He went to the UK to advise the right-leaning party. So that's how you know on the scale, on the international scale, when the rest of the world looks at us, they see the American Democrats as analogous to the Conservative Party in the UK. So what does that make the Republican Party? Fascist, authoritarian, so far right-wing that they're off the scale. David Plouffe, thank you. David Plouffe. I knew it was either Jim Messina or David Plouffe. I'm going to go with David Plouffe or Jim Messina. It was one of them. I have my computer here, but I'm streaming, so I guess I could look it up on my phone, but you get it. You could look it up. You could fact check me. It was one of his top advisors / campaign manager. He left the United States and became a consultant for the Conservative Party in the UK. So I want you to keep that in mind when people try to tell you that anything the Democratic Party is left-leaning socialist. No, baby. I'm a socialist, and I am far from even an international leftist. The spectrum is so skewed that everything in this country. Bill Clinton, folks. Bill Clinton is a conservative. Is this microphone on? Bill Clinton is a conservative on the international scale, but they will call him a socialist here in America. That's how ridiculous our politics are. My man Skits, my friend from high school. I love the fact that I got folks who ride with me from high school, man. That lets me know that I've grown, but I haven't changed. Like, you know, because otherwise they would call me out. He said Obama was a rational right winger. I lost the comment. Hang on, let me put it back on the screen. Obama was a rational right winger to the rest of the modern world. Exactly. But they called him a socialist. No, bruh. Bernie Sanders is barely a socialist to the rest of the world. Take a second, do me a favor, click share, like, and subscribe. As always, we like to cross-pollinate. If you're on Facebook, open me up on YouTube, subscribe on YouTube. If you're on YouTube, go to Twitch. Everybody go to Twitch and follow me on Twitch. Early in the mornings, I do my exercises on Twitch. I just started doing that. Not that you actually care to watch me exercise. It's really just a way of me holding myself accountable, because I almost didn't get out of the bed and go run my mile this morning. But when I said, well, if I put it on Twitch, that'll make me actually do it. And that'll make me actually do it without stopping and cheating. So at like 7 in the mornings, I run over on Twitch. And then about 10 o'clock in the mornings, after I put out the podcast, I do a stream exclusive for my patrons as well as my people who follow me on Twitch. So you can get access to it on twitch.tv/Benjamin P. Dixon. Let's keep rocking. Let's see what everybody else is talking about. We have to stop saying fascism, just say Nazi. We have to stop saying fascism, just say Nazi. This country is skewed too far right. I'm thinking. I'm going to process that. I don't know that I disagree, but I don't know if I fully agree. But I think it was a good, worthwhile comment to put on the screen. I feel like I know Lee Cloud, and so this link that he's sharing on Facebook might be worth clicking on, but I'll check it. Oh, I like Guy Shaw. He said, if Bernie is a socialist, then he must be a Bolshevik. Right? If Bernie is a socialist, then I must be a Bolshevik as well. Damn, that probably make me a Leninist, like a Marxist-Leninist for sure, in terms of current modern political ideology. But in terms of the Russian Revolution, they would think I was Lenin. And folks, my communist friends would take extreme issue with that sentence right there. My communist friends, who I think are all mad at me right now, totally cool, I get it, we'll be friends again soon enough. They think I'm a liberal. So if you want to know what the real spectrum is, talk to the friends to the left of me. Somebody said true. I'm definitely like, and I don't say this as a way of brag. If you're a communist, you cool with me, right? I think we have to have the full representation of the political spectrum active in our politics, or else it will become skewed. So when I say I'm not a communist, I don't say that to say there's something wrong with communism. I say there's something wrong when you can't even discuss communist ideologies in America, even in colleges and universities. When I was in my master's program, my political science master's program, and we were studying comparative economic models, comparative economic systems, do you know they would not allow us to study communism? So when all these people talk about our liberal universities, universities aren't liberal. Every economic paradigm that we studied in my bachelor's program was a right-wing Chicago school neoliberal economic paradigm. We didn't study anything from communism. We didn't study anything from Marx. And this is in academia. And they outright rejected it. I hope somebody from my master's program is watching, because I never forget the advisor, not the advisor, but the dean of the department I went to them and I was like, hey, we're studying comparative economic models. Can we not study communism then? And she was like, why? Why should we study it? It lost. And I'm like, well, yeah, I mean, it may have lost in 87, but it's still a theory. And I'm like, no, we're not going to study that here. This is a liberal university. And the reason I put so much emphasis on that is because It's the same game that's played with the Democratic Party. They tell you that the Democratic Party is socialist, scary, communist, scary, when in reality, the Democrats are centrist right. They tell you that colleges and universities are, it's a liberal university. Rush Limbaugh, a liberal university. They're teaching your kids how to be liberals. When in reality, they are teaching us how to be capitalists / neoliberals. I learned, the economic theory that I learned was pure capitalism. Right-wing Chicago school. I had to go order books to learn about other economic theories on my own time. Because I knew intuitively that there was something wrong with how we're doing things in the United States of America. Just reading your comments. I'm going to pull some comments on the screen. What at Grizzine? Somebody said, sorry, I'm at Grizzine. Oh, so it must have been a comment on Twitch. Maybe I missed it. Bring those comments. If it's something that you feel like should be on the screen, say it again so that I can put it on the screen. There was one last part of this that was important, but it escapes me. It'll come back to me later on. Thank you. No, it just came back to me. There is never mind. I don't want to talk about it next time. Braid Jade, if that conversation you're having with Grizzly is something that's worthwhile to put on the screen, if you could, you guys put it on the screen, put it in the chat again so I can find it. Jake wants to know if I've seen Unfit, about Trump's psychology. Great movie, scary. You could spend a whole show on that. Highly recommend it. I have not, but I will. The liberal university thing is way over exaggerated. It depends on your major, and that makes sense. Right. So my bachelor's is in economics. And my thing is, if we're studying comparative economic theory, then we should study more than the Chicago School of Economics, right? So they are not there to teach you or help you to learn and explore. They're there. The education on the bachelor level was solely for indoctrination. In my master's program, I got a master's in political science, international relations. We learned a lot about different economic theories, but when it came to the one that we never talked about was anything to the left of neoliberalism as an international relations paradigm, not necessarily as the economic paradigm. Neoliberalism was heralded in our program as the crown jewel of international relations theory as it pertains to cooperation on the international stage. Not so much cooperation. Well, they did really, a part of the cooperation on the international stage in that program was trade, economic trade. So there was a bit of economic theory in there, but it was more about the political theory and not the economic theory. I said all that to say everything was from neoliberalism to the right, both on the bachelor level and on the master's level. I did not complete my PhD because I ran out of money. But I got all but dissertation. Actually, no, I didn't do the comprehensive exam, but I got up to the comprehensive exam. And I ran out of money. But in that program, I have to admit that they brought a socialist to speak to us one time. Shout out to my people at USM. I know some of you probably watching. Love you guys. But here's the truth. They made more apologies about bringing a socialist to speak at our program than anything else. And I'm like, why are we making an apology about bringing someone who has academic studies and data and information? And even if we disagree with it, they're at least presenting it in an academic way, right? They're presenting it with the data. So we can at least argue about the data in an academic way. They spent the whole day apologizing. We're sorry, we know a lot of people disagree with what they're going to say, but we just thought we could breathe them in. That was one lecture in about a 4 year period. 2 different schools. I got my bachelor's and my master's at the same school. I worked on my PhD at a second school, 2 different states. One was in Florida, one was in Mississippi. Of course, you're going to think that about Mississippi, but academia is academia no matter where you are, particularly in the United States. And everything was to the right of neoliberalism. Glad to see me more often. I first saw you covering for David Pakman. Glad to see your voice growing. Thanks a lot, my friend. I appreciate the super chat. Oh, we're already an hour in. All right, so let's get to some other news stories. Let's see what's happening in the world, even. Hey, I'll check your text, David. This is my producer calling. I'm going to check your text. Okay, great. Thank you. I guess there's some breaking news here. Give me a second with this breaking news. Okay, this is okay, so this is the Breonna Taylor. Thank you, man. Let me put it up on the screen. This is not an indictment. For the best I could tell, this is not an indictment. So I'm reading this with you, so give me a second to process it as I read it. This is from CNN. 6 Louisville Metro Police Department officers are under internal investigation for their actions the night Breonna Taylor was shot and killed in her home. Police confirm. Let's take a look at the article. They confirmed that too. The LMPD, that's Louisville Metro Police Department Professional Standards Unit, is investigating Detective Miles Cosgrove and Sergeant Jonathan Mattingly, 2 of the officers who fired into Taylor's home. Detective Joshua James, who secured a search warrant for Taylor's home prior to her death, as well as Detectives Tony James, Michael Campbell, and Michael Nobles. According to LMPD spokesperson Sergeant Lamont Washington, he confirmed to CNN. Internal investigation. I still want to hear from, to be sure, I still want us to hear from the grand jury. Let me check my timeline and see if there's anything from the grand jury yet. Okay, so I don't see anything from the grand jury yet, but the fact that there's an internal investigation, it's a small step in the right, a small step. We have to go through so many hurdles just to get justice in this country. Constant hurdles to get justice in this country. David, just so you know, I'm staying in the DMs in case there was something else I missed. Let me take a look at what we got coming from Jim Acosta, speaking to Kelly McEnany, the press secretary for Donald Trump. One of the things that bothers me extremely is how many people have died and how cavalier the Trump administration still is. So let's take a look
podium,
at.
We were looking at the prospect of 2 million people potentially perishing from the coronavirus.
Country.
Well, as you've heard several doctors in the task force note from this podium, we were looking at the prospect of 2 million people potentially perishing from the coronavirus in this country. We grieve when even one life is lost, but the fact that we have that we have come nowhere near that number is a testament to this president taking immediate action, to shutting down travel from China when the other party, Democrats, were saying that was xenophobic. For shutting down travel for Europe, for developing landmark therapeutics that are working like remdesivir.
Kelly, as you know.
Yeah, bruh. These people are. Give me a second here. Let's change my screen. I don't know why I'm not coming up. There I am. Acting immediately. The man who knew. Can I tell you what immediately is? Immediately is when I started to personally do the numbers back in January, and I started alerting my audience back in January. Immediately is when a a teacher in our school district, not too far from our children's school, got sick with COVID, we immediately pulled our kids out of school that day. They didn't go back anymore, and we started homeschooling and quarantining February 27th. That was before Donald Trump was even admitting publicly that it was real. He was admitting privately that it was real and very, very seriously, but immediately would have been back in December when they had the intelligence and they had the information from our intelligence agencies that this was a clear and present threat. Immediately is when, back in January, Donald Trump's advisor on trade, his name escapes me, sent a memo to the White House telling them exactly what was going to happen. Immediately is not when he canceled flights to China. It was already too late by that point. And the fact that we're playing this game that, oh, well, it's not 2 million people. I'm sorry, what? You're expecting us to look at 200,000 bodies. So if that's the case, the next time America wants to take us into the war and you want us to mourn 1,000 soldiers getting killed, we're going to say it wasn't 1 million. Christopher said, I also started following since January. We started going into quarantine in my house in February. Exactly. How is it that regular people, regular Joes, hell, speaking of Joe Rogan put out a podcast in January that had more information that was accurate to this day than the president was putting out from his bully pulpit, from the podium, from his press briefings. How the hell is a podcaster giving better information than the president of the United States? That's because the president of the United States knew exactly the truth, but chose to downplay it. And when you have people who can strike that, let me start that sentence over again. You will always have people who are willing to cover for somebody like Donald Trump for any number of reasons. Number one, they get paid good money to do it. Number two, they are believers in the ideology and they're willing to do anything to protect it. Because anybody with integrity would have left that White House already. They weren't even testing immediately. I mean, talking about immediately, like these morons are still out here talking about we don't need to wear masks to this day. Till this day, they're still talking about we don't need to wear a mask. Bruh. I like this. I'm so glad that I listened to global news. I was so afraid that I went and got the flu shot at the very least, and was acting as if I was over. Everyone was acting as if I was overacting, but I'm so glad I was persistent because, and I didn't even finish it before it went down off the screen, because I would be scared to take one now, shaking my damn head. My wife thought I was overreacting. Cause I was doing the most. I ain't even gonna lie. She came over, we met each other halfway. So I'm grateful to be quarantined with my wife. I put it like that because I don't think any other person in the world could start quarantining a whole damn month before everybody else and not divorce me. So, but I'm grateful that we all, everyone who is safe, that you're safe. Yeah, for sure. Just to be sure that I make sure everybody knows a flu shot won't work on that. And I think the person who made the comment was trying to give that sentiment, but I want to make sure everybody has precise, accurate. The flu shot won't do not a damn thing for you. Cougar Jack said, I initially underestimated it, but to be fair, it was because I saw conservatives in my country using to stoke fears about Asians. And see, that's the thing. It's like, why is it that these bigots, the only way they can take something serious is if they can imbue it with a racist connotation? They'll take it serious if they can use it as an excuse to go to war with China. Look at Donald Trump to this day trying to label it the China virus. He called on the UN. David, if you can give me that clip and send it to me in a DM, he called on the UN to hold China accountable for the China virus. Right? So if he could use it, they'll take it deadly serious if they could use it as a way to create tensions and conflicts with China. Right. Okay. Even more precise. The flu shot won't do anything for you except prevent the flu. It won't do anything for you with regard to COVID-19. All right. I think we're clear of that. All hearts and minds are clear. Do we set the record straight on that? Ooh, I gotta be precise. Ooh, I know. I ain't even mad. I'm not even mad at y'all. Look at all these people saying, but get the flu shot though. Yep, you're right. I'm number one person in my family that encourages everyone to get the flu shot. I want to get the proper context again. I usually don't misspeak like that because I know my audience is on it. The flu shot does nothing for COVID-19, but the flu shot does wonders against the flu. Ask my family. 1 year, my kids got the flu shot, but my wife was so busy she never got the flu shot, and she got the flu, and it was a difficult 2 weeks. So there you go. We all good? All hearts and minds are clear. Yeah, no, somebody said don't underestimate the regular flu. I guess I have a question for the audience. I'm debating this. This is really a question. I want your opinion. Our quarantine is pretty damn solid. Like, we're not going anywhere. So the jury is out whether or not I'm going to leave the house to go get the flu shot when we're probably not going to leave the house until flu season is over. So why should we go? And this is a question. I'm asking your opinion. Should we leave the house and go to a facility where we could potentially expose ourselves to COVID-19 to get the flu shot when in reality we've been on lockdown for 7 months. We haven't interacted with anybody for 7 months. And we're probably going to continue doing that all the way until the vaccine has been ingested into the first round of people for at least 3 to 6 months. Like, I want to see some public officials take that vaccine first. So the whole point is, though, we're not going anywhere. Would you go get the flu shot right now if you're not leaving your house is the question. What do you say? And what's your rationale? Give me some rationale so I can, check out your logic and if it makes sense. One person said just maintain the lockdown. Lee said he already got his. Stephanie said I wouldn't. Patty said yes, still get the. I'm gonna get it on the screen. Hang on. Yes, still get the flu shot. Yes, another yes, get the flu shot. I see more people saying, well, no, listen, and I want to put this on the screen. Flu deaths yearly are approximately 50,000. There's never a year. If we don't get it, this will be the very first year that we don't get it. Like I'm the person in the family chat. Shout out to any family members listening to me. I am the person in the family chat that regularly reminds everybody with a certain level of intensity to go get your flu shot. And I'm the person in the family that gets mad at people when they don't get the flu shot. So this is a rare occasion where I've actually considered not getting it because we're on lockdown and we're going to maintain the lockdown until I turn 41, which is in June. But I do want to hear what you guys think. Here's another one that says yes. CA said they got the flu shot yesterday. Okay, cool. So tell you though, when I go up wherever we go to get this shot, we're gonna have on damn hazmat suits, man. I'm gonna be spraying the air with alcohol. They're gonna be so angry with me. Spraying the air with alcohol, hazmat suits, wiping down everything. My little 2-year-old gonna be walking in there with a full hazmat suit. So like I told y'all, only person who could have been married to me during this pandemic was the woman I married. All right, let's move on to another story. They said definitely bring the hazmat suit. Yeah, man. Absolutely. It is dramatic. It is dramatic, but you know, I don't know if it's dramatic. 200,000 people are dead. To me, I'm the one that's being the most rational. To me, I honestly like. I don't know. I mean, you get to see it. You could see the anxiety and the high pitch of my voice. My whole voice changed. But I feel like I am being rational. I feel like everyone who's out here who has the option. I do feel a certain level of sadness for so many people who don't have the option because our government has abandoned us and has not given us more than $1,200 to last us 7 months. But for other people who had the option of staying home and they're actively choosing not to because they just can't stay home, they got to be out and about. I feel like y'all are out of your minds. For me, spraying the air with alcohol is pretty rational. You should see me when the post office come. I check out the people who come and drop stuff off at my door, and if they're not wearing a mask, I'm out the door spraying alcohol. I let that shit stay outside. I let my stuff stay outside for at least 6-7 hours to make sure all their little droplets. One day this dude came by and delivered something from UPS, and this I can't even say what I called him in real life, had the nerve to spit in my yard. Bruh, you spit in my yard. You giving me all your droplets, spreading them across my property. My landlord's property. So, yeah, I think I'm rational, even though it is a bit dramatic. I will admit it's a bit dramatic. Okay. Yes. Hey, okay, let me put this on the screen. CA70 said, we quarantine packages. Listen, we got a whole operation in our garage. We've emptied out our garage and we take our groceries. Groceries stay in the garage. The stuff that's perishable, we spray it down. We wipe it. When we were out of alcohol, we got buckets of soapy water, and we washed all of our groceries. The non-perishable foods we leave in the garage for about 2 weeks, and then we bring everything into the kitchen, and we just do that week in and week out. I know it's dramatic, but 200,000 people are dead, so I still think I'm the one that's being rational. Anyway, let's get how much time have you been here? 117. We're gonna go for about 13 more minutes, and then I'm gonna call it. I'm surprised we have so many people. We have 546 people who are watching us now. Thank you for joining us. I would like to remind everyone that on Friday we are having a patron party. That's where we do a group Zoom. We can fit up to 500, but we normally get about 30, 40 people in there. And I have a DJ, and we play music all night long until we get tired. And if you want to get access to that, you also get access to the full hour podcast that I put out every day. As you can tell, I can talk for hours. My wife wants me to thank you, by the way. My wife would like for me to thank you for allowing me to talk to you for hours instead of bothering her for hours. The podcast is entirely different than this. The podcast is extremely serious. We cover the same issues, but I cover it from a far more radical perspective. It is not laid back at all. It is you generally are going to need to come chill afterwards if you listen to the podcast, which is why I'm doing this, because every day after I do the podcast, I always put everything down and I come out here in the backyard and I sit and I read the news. If I read the news, I read a book, so that I can mellow out from the seriousness of both the real world, but also the seriousness of the podcast. It's intense, but it is well produced, great music, if I must say so myself. And it's an experience, it's a vibe. So you can go to iTunes and download that. If you want the full hour, you can go to patreon.com/the BPD show. And while you're there, you will get access to the party, the patron party that's going on on Friday. Tell her thank you for letting us. Hey, I will tell her. I'll let her know. I think I see her. What happened was she was putting Jeremiah down for a nap, and she inadvertently fell asleep herself. So that's why she was going to come on and talk with us about the report. There's a study that came out that shows that women and daughters, wives and daughters, carry the brunt of the extra work that's associated with being quarantined for this long. And while I would like to, I'd like to think that I'm different. It's a possibility I'm not. It's a possibility that she has more work on her shoulders and I haven't done my part to level it off. Just so people are clear, what I'm doing here, that fly, y'all about to see me be a country ass, because I'm about to kill that fly. But to be sure, the work that I'm doing right now, this is work. I do this professionally. I do this for a living. I was a teacher many years ago. Then I got into marketing, and I did marketing for a company called HubSpot. I'll give them a shout out because I love them. Shout out to HubSpot. Was really a great corporate experience here in Boston. But I left there, and when I left there, I left to raise the kids because my wife had her career. And she had been in her career a lot longer than my marketing career. And so we had to decide who's going to stay at home and take care of the kids, because when kids go to public school, you can't leave them. Y'all see that sun beaming? You can't leave them at childcare until 6 p.m. when the train got us home from the city. Yeah, bud, what's up? Open the door and tell me what's up. They're just dropping a package, right? Huh? All right, if they ring it again, let me know, because they're probably just dropping a package off. Yeah, he's gone already. I can see him leaving. Sorry, dad stuff. So anyway, when you are, and I know a lot of parents in the audience, you understand when you have childcare, you're paying an arm and a leg, but at least they can keep you until you can get home from a full days of work. When they went to public school, they got out of school at 2:00, and both of us worked downtown Boston. And by the time we would get on the train and get back from downtown to the South Shore, it was 6:00 at least. And so one of us had to make a decision to either try to work from home or leave our job. So I made the decision to leave my job at HubSpot, and I took care of the kids for like a year and a half. And while I was doing that, I was slowly but surely developing this platform, and it took many years. That was 5 years ago. And so now, 5 years in, it is my full-time job, and my wife doesn't have to work anymore. And we can thank Michael Bloomberg for that, because when I dropped my hit, I'm just saying that I know I talk about this a lot. My patrons, people who've been with me, I know I talk about this a lot. I'm sorry. But there's a lot of new people watching right now. So I got to say it again. This podcast was really struggling until I released that audio on Michael Bloomberg back in February of his 2015 Aspen Institute speech, where he talked about intentionally targeting black kids in New York. And that became international news, and it took me from doing this as a side gig to doing it full time, and we've had a lot of successes since then. So I do this full time, and I'm glad now I've been able to, my wife doesn't have to go to work, and so part of that, I think I need to move this light. Part of that is, though, she has taken on the responsibility of the kids, and she's taken on the responsibility of homeschooling. So it is a lot, but our roles have shifted, because at one time I was taking care of the kids. We just go back and forth and we make it work. But I guess my question for her, that maybe she'll come out and we'll talk about, is does she feel like there's a balance? Since both of us have experience being a stay-at-home, and both of us have experience working corporate jobs, and now we have this weird experience where I work from home, but we're pretty successful. She does everything for the kids. Would she consider that balance? So what's going on in your home? I'm curious. What do you think? I don't want to get this close, but I need to move the shade. So excuse me. You're going to see all of my features. But I got to protect the camera from the from the sun. Oh man, good old times. Back in February, before like so much, the world changed between February 12th when I dropped that on Michael Bloomberg. Everything was great. I was traveling. I was on national television. I was on CBS. I was on MSNBC on a regular basis. And in the background of everything that was happening, there was always, you know how you watch a movie and if you listen to whatever's being played on the radio or the TV in the background, it's generally foreshadowing. And so while I was, getting car services to the studios downtown to talk with Ari Melber and the Beat, Ari would always be covering the coronavirus. It would like be the story just before me or the story after me. And I listen to foreshadowing, or I notice it. As soon as I see it, I notice it. So between the beginning of February and the end of February, the entire world changed. Started off, oh man, we're in the primaries. It's great. It's a high political season. Oh man, I made international news. Wow, my podcast is jumping. But every single day there was some foreshadowing about coronavirus, and here we are. Let's see. Here we go. If I can get this on the screen, it should be on the screen. I don't know why it's not. There it is. She said, I've homeschooled for 15 years and my husband is the breadwinner. It works for us. Happy for you all. This is our first year homeschooling. And I want to protect the camera. First year homeschooling, and the best thing about it, we may continue it, but it's really good because the level of anxiety that my children have is gone. The only thing they have to worry about is if they didn't clean up their room before they got on their devices. Then they get some anxiety because I got to have a few words with them. But my son in particular, and we'll shut it out. I'm not gonna do another story. We got let's see how much time we got. We have like, oh wait a minute. Oh no, we still got like 5 minutes, 3 minutes. My son used to have so much anxiety from having to deal with the pressures of being at a pretty tough school, right? Smart kid, he's a tough kid, but he wants to be a kind kid. But he was at a school where he could not just be kind all the time. He had to know how to fight. And admittedly, during that time, I was gone all the time. And I didn't have as much time with him to reassure him that he could handle it. I did take enough time with him to make sure he knew how to fight, but he needed emotional reinforcement a lot more than I was able to give. And so now we have the added bonus of he's not in that environment anymore, and I'm home all the time. So I've just seen he's just blossoming into the person that he wants to be, not the person he has to be because of the school system. Now, shout out to public school teachers. I'm a firm advocate for public schools, but it is tough. It's extremely tough on kids, and you have to be a certain level of tough to survive. And sometimes kids don't want to do that. Sometimes kids want to chill and be nice. Sometimes kids want to be loving, but the environment is going to force them to have to fight sometimes. And that's traumatic. And here I am as a dad, like, trying to teach him the lessons of, but sometimes you got to fight. That's just the way it is. Sometimes you have to fight. But he's 8 effing years old. If I can hold him out and he not have to fight for real until at least 14, 16, then he would at least have had a firm foundation of confidence and love and not anxiety and toughness. Grizzly Boar said, I used to be that kid. School turned me into a bitter cynic. Yeah. Thanks, Jake. I'm a big fan of you, man. Thanks for the support. I never thought about my son fighting. Yeah, no. Hell, I never thought about having a fight until I had a fight. you know? I want to get your comments in. I'm going to close out the show with your comments. Thank you, Rachel. I just trying to do my best. The truth is that the reason I didn't snatch him out and put him in like a private school was one, because we were poor. Okay, let's just be real. Like before February of this year, we were struggling because things got hard. But then two, it's because the reality of it is like life is about balance. You can't, as much as I personally want to be kind. Here it is. I can do it with this. I can say it here. My saying that I used to say on my show all the time. It used to be in my Twitter bio. When you can be kind, be kind. When you can't, take no prisoners. That's my life motto. My desire is to be kind to as many people as I possibly can because that's what I prefer doing. But life has taught me. Life has beat me. Life has taken advantage of me. It has shown me my naivete. It has shown me where I have been too gullible. It's shown me that I need to, like I do every morning, make sure my knuckles always stay calloused, both literally and rhetorically. Because as much as I want to be kind, I know I'm going to have to fight. But what I'm trying to do for my kids is help them to get a firm foundation of kindness first, so that when they fight, they know what they're fighting for. With that, I don't think that, well, it's an hour and 30 even, so this is as good a place as any. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe. Follow wherever you are. Kind of weird. My neighbor's over here, so my neighbor's probably like, oh, Lord, I got an influencer as a neighbor. Sorry, guy. Sorry. You know, yeah. Most of my days are saying like, share, and subscribe. Follow me on Twitter at Benjamin P. Dixon. Follow me on Twitch for exclusive. I don't want people to hear me talking like this. But I guess I am an influencer. And I'll see you all next time. Take care, everybody.